Okay, so we're getting ready to do part 3. So it's our last video for today. This is still chapter Unit 10 on free time, and this is for Monday, June 8th, June 8th, 2020. Okay, and all my contact information is still located at the top of the screen. All right, so we're going to pick up with page 117 in the workbook. And number 1 says, look at the pictures and complete the conversations. So I want to go over quickly what the pictures are. 1 is soda. 2 is coffee. 3 is salad. 4 is a hot dog. 5 is fruit. And the last one, number 6, is cheese. I just wanted to go over those because some of the pictures are dark and hard to see. But what I would like for you to do is, just like number 1, it says, what would your friends like to drink? Well, we have to use the soda because it's number 1. They'd like some soda. So if you could do that through 2 through 6, or if you've already done it, that's great, and we can go ahead and check it together. So number 2 says, would your husband like something to drink? Yes, please. Since it's her husband, we're going to say he'd like some. We're going to use coffee because coffee has a number 2 beside of it. And that goes with that sentence. So he would like some coffee. Okay, number 3. What would you and your husband like to eat? So it's her and her husband, so it's we. So we'd like to eat some salad, because salad is the 3rd picture. Okay. Number 4 says, would your daughter like a sandwich? No thanks, but since it's a daughter, it's she'd like a hot dog, because hot dog is the 4th picture. Number 5, would you like something to eat? Yes, please. I'd like some fruit. So when it says you, when somebody's asking you, when you reply back, it's I. Number 6, would you like something to drink? No, thanks. But I'd like some cheese. Okay? So there's your answers for part 3, 2 through 6. Go ahead and stop the video and make any corrections that you need. And we're going to pick up with part 4. I'm going to play part 4. I'm going to play the QR reader, and then we can go over the answers together. And if you want to, you can play the QR reader on your phone, but you can also stop and start the video as much as you need.
Page 117. Exercise 4. Track 34. Welcome to Sarah's graduation party. What would you like to drink?
I would like some soda, please.
Would you like a piece of cake, too?
No, thank you. I'm full.
Okay. How about you, Jerry? Would you like something to drink?
Yes, thank you. I'd like a cup of tea, please.
Okay. Here you go. Would you like something to eat?
Yes, please. I'd like a hot dog, a sandwich, some cookies, and 2 pieces of cake.
Wow. Okay. How about your children? What would they like to eat?
What would they like to eat? My children this food is for them. Okay? All right. So, yeah, because I don't know why, but that didn't play all the way through. Okay? So number 2 says, I would like some soda, please. Number 3 says, would you like a piece of cake too? So it's would you like. Number 4, no. Thank you. I'm full. Okay, how about you, Jerry? Number 5. Would you like something to drink? Yes, thank you. Number 6, he says, I'd like a cup of tea, please. Number 7, okay, here you go. Would you like something to eat? Number 8, yes, please. I'd like a hot dog, a sandwich, some cookies, and 2 pieces of cake. And the very last one, number 9. Wow, okay, how about your children? What would they like? My children, this food is for them. Okay, so that's the end of part 4 on page 117. Go ahead and make any corrections that you need to. And once again, this is a good place for you to stop and practice reading that script and practice with someone if you have that opportunity. Okay? So we're going to close the workbook and we're going to flip back to our student book on page 126. And okay, our objectives for this part, we're going to, let's see. Introduce direct and indirect objects. Okay? And so we see on page 126 there's another grammar chart. Direct objects answer the question, what? An indirect object, it says who receives the direct object. So if the direct object would be the present and the indirect object would be Mary. So like in our previous story on page 122 about Celia, so Celia would be the indirect object and the direct object would be the cards, the flowers, and the perfume. Okay? So Tim gave or bought a present for Mary or for her. So we see the direct object is the present and the indirect object is Mary or her. And the same thing. If you flip the sentence to say Tim gave or bought Mary a present or her a present, the indirect object would come first, being Mary or her, and the direct object would come second. So you're just flipping those statements around. Okay, so look at the Just one second, I'm going to clear the screen and we'll keep on going. So back, before we get started going through these answers, I want to just make sure that direct and indirect objects are clear. Like when we were talking about Celia and her graduation, Celia is the indirect objects. Okay, and then her gifts, she had flowers, a card, or more than one actually, cards and perfume. Those items that were her gifts were the direct object. Okay, so let's see. One person gave Celia a card. So your object, your indirect object is Celia, and a card is your direct object. Same thing. One person gave Celia some perfume. Celia is always going to be your indirect object. This time the direct object is the perfume. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at the practice part on page 126, the part 2. And we're looking at Joe's to-do list and what did he do yesterday, and we're going to write some sentences. So on the to-do list, he needed to buy flowers for Sylvia, buy a card for Nick, write a letter to Pam, buy a cake for Mary and Judy, give roses to Eva, send an invitation to Paul, send some money to David, and give a ride to Sue. So, what did he do yesterday? We're going to write the sentences. So the first thing is he bought to buy flowers for Sylvia. So since it was yesterday, it's going to be in the past tense. So buy is going to be bought. So Joe bought flowers for Sylvia. Okay, go ahead and do 2 through 8 and then come back and we can check those together. All right? All right, hopefully you stopped the video and completed 2 through 8, and now that and that you wrote them in complete sentences and that we're ready to check them together. Once again, number 2 says, buy a card for Nick. And once again, if we're talking about yesterday, that's in the past. So buy is going to be bought. So Joe bought a card for Nick, right? Number 3, write a letter to Pam. So if it's in the past, we're going to use wrote. So Joe wrote a letter to Pam. Number 4, buy a cake for Mary and Judy. We see the word buy again, and the past tense is bought. So Joe bought a cake for whom? Mary and Judy. Okay. Number 5. Joe gave roses to Eva. So the past tense of give is gave. So Joe gave Roses to Eva. Number 6, send an invitation to Paul. So the past tense of send is sent and to Paul. Right? And on number 7, we see send again. Some money to David. So once again, past tense of send is sent. Money to David. Last one, number 8. Give a ride to Sue. So Joe gave, past tense, a ride to Sue. Okay, let's look at these sentences real quickly and think about the direct and indirect objects. So Joe bought a card for Nick. So if Nick is the indirect object, what did Nick receive? A card. That's your direct object. So if he wrote a letter to Pam, Pam would be your indirect object, and the letter would be your direct object. Joe bought a cake for Mary and Judy. So both Mary and Judy in this sentence would be your indirect objects, and cake would be your direct object. Joe gave roses to Eva. Eva is your indirect object. Roses would be the direct object. Joe sent an invitation to Paul. Paul is your indirect object, and the invitation is your direct object. Joe sent money to David. David is your indirect object, and the money is your direct object. Joe gave a ride to Sue. Okay, here Sue is your direct object, or indirect object, and he gave her a ride, so the ride would be your direct object. So if you notice, all of the indirect objects are people, and all of the indirect objects are people, and all of the direct objects are things that were given to them. A card, a letter, a cake. Okay? So that takes care of the practice on part 2. Okay, I'm going to quickly show you a little video that goes over direct and indirect objects.
There are 2 types of objects within a sentence: a direct object and an indirect object. For example, the mother fed her child milk. Here, milk is direct object and her child is indirect object. A direct object is a noun or noun phrase or pronoun that receives the action of a verb directly.
Okay, so you see that it's the direct object. It receives the action. So if you're giving someone a gift, that's the action.
It answers the question what or who or whom. For example, Ricky threw pebbles in the pond. What did Ricky throw? Pebbles. So, pebbles is the direct object in this sentence. A sentence that has a direct object may or may not have an indirect object.
Okay, all of the sentences that we looked at today, all of them have an indirect object.
For example, I received the parcel. What did I receive? Parcel. In this sentence, there is no indirect object. Parcel is the direct object. An indirect object is a noun or noun phrase or pronoun to whom or for whom the action is done. It receives the action through the direct object and not directly. It answers the question at whom or to whom or for whom or from whom. It often comes after a preposition. There can be no indirect object without a direct object.
Okay, so to have an indirect, you have to have a direct object to have an indirect object. But like they said before, some sentences only have the direct object. So anyway, I just wanted to show you a quick video to reiterate about direct and indirect objects, and we'll see everybody back on Wednesday. Once again, guys, here's my personal information. You're welcome to email me about the class or any content, and also don't forget to put your name at the bottom in the comments to get counted for attendance.